Hey there, I am back with another deck review, and today I'm going to be looking at 1969 from DeckIdea and designer Jason Cheng. This is the very first deck from DeckIdea, was released after a successful late 2019 Kickstarter campaign, and is just now getting into the hands of backers, but it's not the last deck you're going to see from DeckIdea. They've already got a ton of other designs in the works, including the Serpent campaign that's live now. If you haven't seen that, definitely recommend checking that out. But this is the very first design. And Jason really, through his designs, tries to draw on just sort of unique and interesting inspirations to create these sort of artistic cards. So let's find out what this deck's all about. And 1969 refers to the year of the moon landing. So the inspiration behind this one is going to be outer space, space travel, and specifically looking at some of the origins of space travel. So a pretty cool inspiration for a science guy like myself. Let's jump into it and find out how he did with the deck. So starting here with the front, it really just features this swirl of multicolored stars all the way through. So just these circles going all the way through and kind of forming this swirling galaxy. If you look at the different colored ones, you can see that they're kind of a foil pop. It's a little bit hard to see on camera, trying to get it to catch the light there. But you can see that there's purples, greens, yellows, oranges. Everything basically but the whites are actually little tiny pops of foil through there. Gives it a very, very cool look, especially once you get it in hand. Not much writing on it, just says 1969 at the top, and then, whoa, astronomical underneath. As you turn to the sides, more continuation in design, and then has some ad copy there. So DeckIdea 2019, and you see it's issued in November 2019, which is when I think the printing of the deck started. And then on the other side, 1969 again, and then it gives you a little bit of a story behind the deck here. So it's got, in 1969, mankind set foot on the moon for the first time. To commemorate its 50th year anniversary, we will be naming our deck 1969. Bottom has a little bit more ad copies. So these are printed by Cartamundi with their B9 finish. The 56 there refers to the 56 cards that are inside here. And then this one is limited to 1,000 copies. Top has more of those stars, a little bit more in that foil. Back has the back design of the cards sort of represented there. And of course, more of those foiling and the stars there. And then has the website for DeckIdea at the bottom, deckidea.com. You do get a tuck seal here done in orange, sort of in the postage stamp style. The perforated edges are on the top and the bottom. And then you have the DeckIdea logo there. It kind of reminds me of like a playing card, but also a planet on there. And then as you open it up, nothing printed on the interior flaps, just plain blue, and nothing printed on the inside either. So a really nice, simple, clean tuck case. Not a ton of design elements going on, but I really do like what was done here. And I think with the space theme, it's really just kind of fitting that there's not much other than the stars going on. Now let's look at the deck, and we'll start with the back design. So it's a lot of the same that we saw before. A few less colors, but it really is just that galaxy of stars. So it's just white and then blue and red stars on this really dark navy blue background. And it forms this very simple swirl of stars. I like what's going on here. I like the design a lot. If I have one sort of knock against this, it's that it is a clearly one-way back design. You can see that the design is not a reflected one, so the white's kind of more towards here at the bottom. So it is definitely going to be a clearly one-way back design. A little bit of a knock, but I think it's a really beautiful one. Borderless, so there is no poker border or anything on the edges at all. And you can see some of that B9 finish on there as well. So there is the back design of the cards. Extra cards, you do get 4 extra cards with this one. The first couple are going to be the Jokers, and both of them feature kind of a space design going on in the back, kind of a bold, I won't say cartoony, but a very bold colors going all the way through. Kind of a split background color with this kind of more purplish color, and then a darker, almost black color at the bottom. Has Joker, and then 1969 written on the sides. And then you have these sort of UFO spaceships flying through. One of them gray with sort of orange hits, and the other one orange spaceships with little hits of dark blue. So there's your red and your white Jokers. And then you get An ad card which re-explains some of the inspiration behind the deck and mentions deck idea. So there's that bit about mankind setting foot on the moon 50 years ago. And then you get a Hall of Fame card. So this was sort of a nod to some of the backers in the campaign. So the first 50 backers, and I think he's planning on doing this for all of his decks, but the first 50 backers all get a mention on here. You may recognize a few of these names from other collector groups if you're a part of it. But these are the first 50 backers that all got credit with their name on this card. Pretty cool personal touch and a thank you to the backers there. Now into the deck itself. So you see that really bold design kind of continue through here, and all of the cards are gonna feature that kind of same aesthetic. So starting here with the Ace of Spades, and here is going to talk about the first launch on May 5th, 1961. This is actually the first US launch into space. The Russians had actually launched just a few weeks earlier. But May 5th, 1961 was the first US launch into space. You can see the shuttle represented here against a backdrop of, kind of looks like the sun back there. And then you have the space elements in the back, the stars, the shooting stars going through in the back, 1969 on either side. So very cool, done in a lot of oranges, purples, and whites, kind of forming the main part of the design. There is a close-up look at that spaceship and deck idea written on the ship itself. As you go through the number cards, they're all going to feature that duo tone, so very purple at the top, and then more dark blue at the bottom, swirl of stars in the galaxy. The spade pips are going to be fully custom. They're these kind of odd, no stem on the bottom, but just a fat point there, kind of a mound forming the spade pip. Very small, a little bit hard to distinguish with the star background, but by the same token kind of fits into the star background without being a huge distraction. 1969 again written on the sides, and then that custom font on the pips in the corner. And you can see going through the number cards, it's more of the same. With a unique layout for all those pips going through there. These kind of forming an X and to the 10. Now the core cards are all going to feature some of the bodies that you would find in the Milky Way or in the galaxy. So they're going to feature the planets as well as the king, which is one of my favorite unique cards in here, the sun. So the sun here tells you how large the sun is. And then, so it's 1.391 million kilometers. And then it features just an all orange background representing the sun. Very vibrant card, really unique compared to that kind of purple and dark colors of all the others, but kind of a cool touch there. The other court cards are going to feature much smaller bodies. Obviously, everything's smaller than the sun, but you've got Mercury here. It gives you a few facts, including the length of the day and the distance from the sun at the bottom. Mercury, how large it is as well down there. And then you have the space background with the shooting stars and the stars going all the way through. And then there's Venus on the Jack of Spades. Now the aces are all going to feature kind of custom elements here. So the Ace of Hearts represents the satellite. So you can see a series of satellites just kind of floating there around the Earth. Pretty cool. And then into your hearts, the hearts feature a more traditional style pip. So these actually look like a heart. And then as you get into the court cards, you're back to the planets and other bodies out in space. You have Earth, the Moon, and Mars all represented. Ace of Clubs is going to look at comets. So you have the comets flying through. And then the club is just sort of this trio of comets that's kind of loosely forming the shape of a club as well. And then into those. These are definitely kind of harder to read, but I like that they really fit into the design of the deck. I think at the end of the day, it's not really a deck that's too designed for heavy use of gameplay. And then there are your court cards for the clubs. These feature some of the largest planets. You've got Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. The Ace of Diamonds actually represents the first step. So July 21st, 1969. You can see the footprint and then kind of the surface of the moon forming the top half here. So there's your actual nod to 1969 and the origins of the deck. And then into your diamonds. So the diamonds are these little star shape, sort of, and back into that red, and closing out with the court cards. So you've got Neptune, Pluto, and then another kind of unique one in the Jack of Diamonds. It's a black hole. So it's all just completely dark. This one just represents a black hole, so no background at all. So a pretty cool extra touch to finish out with the sun and the black hole as sort of unique cards on there. So that's it. That is the look at the deck. Handling on this thing is beautiful. I love how the Cartamundi B9 finish handles. Just really beautiful. Sturdy card, and yet shows up beautifully in fans. It is a one-way back design, but once you get them all arranged, those stars really do form kind of a cool look in fans as well. So really like how this one handles. A lot of really cool things kind of planned for DeckIdea in the future that I definitely recommend checking out. He's actually planning a second version of this deck. The second version is going to feature a few different tweaks, maybe focus on a different part of space exploration, possibly, space station or something along those lines, focusing more out of the origins of space travel into something a little bit more future looking. So he has more versions of this deck planned, as well as, of course, all of the other decks that are on tap for him. So go check out DeckIdea. He absolutely has some just really unique ideas floating out there. But this deck right here, that's the look at the 1969. It's a fun deck. I will say, it's not a deck to take too overly seriously. Functionally, it's going to be a little bit more, I think, focused, kind of on cardistry. The one-way back design hurts that a little bit, but I think it's one that is simple enough that it'll, focus pretty well for cardistry. A little bit harder for gameplay, just because some of those pips are a little bit harder to read. And, because it's so highly customized, maybe not a Magic deck. So for me, cardistry and then just art and a fun deck to look at are really kind of where this is going to find its home. So that's it. That's a look at the 1969. Hope you enjoyed that. Definitely go check out Jason and DeckIdea. He's pretty active on Instagram, so if you don't catch his campaign that's live now, go find DeckIdea on Instagram. You won't regret it. He's a really engaged creator, loves to kind of work with other people on collaboratively creating his designs. So absolutely go check that guy out. That's it. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what other decks you want to see. Subscribe for more deck reviews and unboxings. And go find me on Instagram too. And I'll see you for the next one.